What's up, everybody? Today, back in the garage, Rotofab intake goodness. I've already took some liberties, got this thing kind of halfway set up and cleaned up. I bought it from a friend secondhand for $200. HUNNITT, $200. All right, so I guess first things is why did I choose the Rotofab? Well, first, that's what most people are using. Second, I start looking at, the engineering, even this piece that's on the inside right here, the companies that do little extra things like that to stabilize mass airflow, sensor readings and stuff like that, it just really, things that the factory would do, it really turns me on to that company. It lets me know that they didn't just throw an intake together to put it out there on the market. They actually had some time and engineering behind what they did and how they designed the thing. Now, coming from other platforms, I was a little afraid that this would be less of a cold air intake and more of a hot air intake, which it is on most vehicles. But from my understanding on the LT4 in the Camaro and the CTSV and the Z06, you actually gain quite a bit with the intake. Like on the Dodge Chargers and the Hellcat, the whole bottom of the box almost is open and it has a snorkel up front right there. And on those vehicles, over an intake, pretty much a K&N filter gives you more gains than the intake, especially in hotter weather, because it winds up sucking a bunch of under hood hot air into the intake, which, like with the throttle body, you go ahead and pull this piece right here off, get it out the way. I'm gonna loosen this clamp and then take off the mass airflow sensor. And one thing that a lot of videos don't show is on the mass airflow sensor itself. This is one of these. You take this red tab, pull it up, and then you'll be able to push right here and unplug it. It's got a little, plastic clasp here. You can wiggle and get off. All right, and that pulls off. And then right down here, of course, you have to pull that out. Then I'll just take this whole piece out as one big giant piece. Again, 5/16 nut driver works great on most of these clamps. I've loosened this, put this out, that down there. Then you just take this upper side here and pull, and it pops out a little rubber piece. And you got another one right here. The whole assembly will come out. I don't know why in other people's videos they're taking the cover off of this box. This clamp off to get this fitting out of the factory intake. And go ahead and look at this. I mean, that's not a very big opening when you consider the surface area of the filter and then this little opening. I'm pretty sure that this doesn't flow as much as what the filter can flow. So to my understanding, that's one of the downfalls of the factory intake on this. All right, so that clamp right here was kind of a pain to get off, but this is going to slip inside this hose. This 90 and this hose is provided by Rotofab. You go ahead and slip that in, and they have a worm clamp right here that's going to go on it. Now, I don't like these things very much. I'm going to try to get a factory style push clamp that looks like, one of these in black from the part store, just a couple bucks, and they look a lot better than these clamps right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and assemble this stuff. And I also have some thread sealant that I'm gonna put around this and seal that up. And this right here, there's no clamp on it because it's got a hose barb and it is a really tight fit. So what I did for this piece, basically to align it, was line it up with the factory piece and then make the hose barb face the same direction as what it did from the factory. Because this connection right here to the throttle body is going to be the same. So I just wanted it to face the same direction as it did factory. All right, so one thing that most people's install videos don't talk about is this little tie wrap here. It's just a zip tie, and they want you to tie these lines to get them a little closer together. They don't have to be touching, but they do recommend you do that, and it is in the instructions from Rotofab. And right here, I went ahead and put 2, and I did not cut this off. Because I want to return the car to stock, I want this piece on here so I can stick it on the stock air box to keep these lines from getting over into this pulley, because that's the ultimate goal here. And I put 2 for extra assurance, because I don't want none of this stuff to end up touching this pulley or this idler over here. So now we're ready for the box itself. All right, so I have to assemble this before I put it in. Got the holes lined up here. Now your mass airflow holes can line up with the top corner here. And I put just a touch of the blue Loctite on these bolts, because I don't want none of this stuff, you know, vibrating back and out, especially these ones on the bottom here. That's going to be hard to get to. So I'm going to assemble this and throw this box in and make sure all this stuff lines up the way it's supposed to. All right, box is installed. Rotofab has these, it's a 3/8 nut here. These didn't line up perfectly to where I wanted them, and this box was actually sitting up a little bit. I don't know if that was because it was installed in somebody else's car first or not, but at least you do have adjustment. All 3 of these mounting points that they have here have adjustment. So it's Allen screw on one side, and then 3/8 nuts on the back side, and they're locking nuts. Then you got a 10mm nut for the shaft itself, and it moves around. So you can adjust it up and down and back and forward to get it to fit your fender well, you know, nice and secure, and where the least amount of air from under the hood can come in as possible. When you swap over your mass airflow, remember that do not try to use your factory bolts, because it will just tear up your factory bolt and this housing. Rotofab gives you 2 Phillips head screws that are the right size to go in there. So I'm going to switch over my mass airflow sensor, make sure it keeps its orientation, which it shouldn't go in but one way, but we're going to make sure it keeps its orientation anyway. Then I'm going to place the elbow. All right, so to get this elbow on, this is the way that I do it. The secret to this is loosen this clamp on up. People always have this clamp tight. Loosen that thing almost all the way out. You see I got the worm almost all the way out. And then hang your other clamp. Get your orientation correct, or which way you want it to face, and just hang that bad boy off the throttle body, like so, if I can get it to hang. All right, so I've been getting shit done since 1985, and this is the way I do almost every intake on even different cars. So slide this in, get it up in there, and push it all the way in. Give yourself some clearance, push down past the bottom, and then come back up. You have to use your finger just a little bit, but your bottom edge should be around it. And then you push it up on there. I mean, I don't really understand how people struggle so much with this. I think it's mainly because they don't want to loosen these clamps all the way up. Just loosen the damn clamps up and get the job done. So does it make this, you know, take longer to tighten this down? Yeah, it does. But you see, it was a lot easier getting that intake tube in there. So I always like to push up as much as I can. Get all this stuff lined up. Make it as straight as I can and tighten this down. I like all my stuff to line up. I like my clamps to be oriented about the same. I like it to be the same off the edge. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here momentarily. That's tight. That one's tight.
Get this pushed up. Whoa.
These don't have to be super tight. I don't know why people, nothing really has to be super tight on this. I don't know why everybody wants everything so damn super tight, but this ratchet is just a 9/32. That's what socket this is, 9/32 socket. Now for this, when you click this back in, you have to push this red tab back down to lock it. So you just line it up, push it in, push the red tab back down. It's locked into place. Last step's gonna be the filter. I wanna make sure my Rotofab, even though nobody's gonna see it, I wanna make sure my Rotofab is facing the right direction. So if somebody jumps down into my fender well right here, into the intake box, they'll be able to read it. Line all this stuff up. Now that one looks like it's gonna be my nut driver here. It's gonna be about 5/16, and it is. That's super tight enough. All right, last thing is going to be to put this in. Now that's straight. Get you up here. Okay, so I've got my tie strap here. Got it where it's gonna stay off of everything. Clipped in right there. All this is tight. It's the same distance as here, 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 here. I got the same gap. All my clamps are lined up. My filter is straight. You can see Rotofab right there and read it. Everything's tightened up, plugged in, and ready to go. Last thing will be this bolt right here. You go ahead and take that bolt out, and Rotofab does supply you with a flat head, rounded off bolt. That way this doesn't stick down onto the top of this. Since I bought this used, I am gonna have to go buy this. Thankfully in the instructions, I do have the exact size of the bolt that I need. So I'm just gonna run down here to Tractor Supply and get the bolt, and I'll be done. But other than that, she's complete. Let's crank it up. Went for a drive, and I can tell you one thing, there's definitely a lot more supercharger whine that I can hear in the car. Before, it's like I almost couldn't hear it at all. Now, like for instance, if I'm holding a gear, I can hear it whine a lot more, and I got a lot more intake sound. So that little whoosh, and that's really what we're buying intakes for. We want the look, we want the intake sound. Now on these cars, from what I hear, you gain a little bit of power with the intake. So that's always a plus too. Anyway, the butt dyno, you know, you got to gain 30-40 horsepower for the butt dyno to really feel the difference. You know what I mean? I know people say, oh, it'd be interesting what the butt dyno has to say. Well, the butt dyno loves it, but the butt dyno loves it because my brain loves the sound that it makes. So, you know, anyhow, thanks everybody for watching. Remember to like the video if you did like the video, and go ahead and share this content, and let me get this channel back going again. I kind of fell off. I didn't post anything for a few months because I was busy with life, and life takes priority over YouTube. This is again just for fun, but let's get this bad boy going again. I don't know what YouTube did here recently, or maybe it's just me from not posting as much, but you know, I used to get at least 500 views in 24 hours. Now I'll be lucky to get 100 views in 24 hours. So I appreciate each and every one of you. If you know somebody that's got Camaro, likes Camaros, or even if they don't, they just like good, you know, repair videos, or thinking about getting one, or a ZL1 is now getting into the price point where they can afford, which is the reason that I bought it. You know, share the video with them, share my channel. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.